Arc fault circuit interrupters, or AFCIs, are designed to protect against electrical fires caused by arcing faults. If an AFCI breaker in a bedroom circuit is tripping frequently, it indicates a potential problem that needs to be addressed. Here are several troubleshooting steps and solutions. Firstly, check all wiring connections at receptacles, switches, and lighting fixtures. Ensure all connections are tight and secure. Loose or corroded connections can cause arcing, which can trip the AFCI breaker. Secondly, inspect the AFCI breaker itself for any signs of damage or wear. A defective AFCI breaker can cause nuisance tripping. If there is any visible damage, replace it. Thirdly, use a voltage tester or multimeter to verify that all receptacles and lights are receiving the correct voltage when the AFCI breaker is on. Incorrect voltage levels can indicate wiring issues. Fourthly, disconnect all devices, including the clock radio, table lamps, smoke detectors, and motion detector floodlights, one at a time. After disconnecting each device, check if the AFCI breaker still trips. This process can help identify a faulty device or appliance that is causing the problem. Fifthly, use a ground fault circuit interrupter tester to check for any ground faults on the circuit. A ground fault occurs when current leaks to ground, which can trip an AFCI breaker. Sixthly, inspect the motion detector floodlights to ensure that they are properly installed and functioning correctly. Faulty motion detectors can sometimes trigger AFCI breakers. Now, here are some legal and safe solutions to consider. 1. Install a dedicated AFCI breaker for the bedroom circuit, separate from other circuits in the house. This minimizes the impact of other circuits potentially causing overloads or ground faults. 2. Consider temporarily replacing the AFCI breaker with a standard circuit breaker. If the circuit functions without tripping with a standard breaker, it could indicate a defective AFCI breaker. However, this is only a temporary diagnostic measure and should not be considered a permanent solution. The AFCI breaker should be reinstalled to provide the necessary arc fault protection once the underlying issue is resolved. 3. If all other troubleshooting steps fail, it is best to contact a licensed electrician for further diagnosis and repairs. Electricians have the expertise and tools to identify and fix complex electrical issues safely. It is important to follow certain safety precautions. Always ensure the power is turned off before working on any electrical circuits. Verify the circuit is de-energized using a reliable voltage tester. It is crucial not to ignore a tripping AFCI breaker. It can be an indication of a potential electrical hazard that needs to be addressed promptly to prevent electrical fires. In summary, the AFCI breaker is a safety device designed to protect against arc faults, which can lead to electrical fires. When an AFCI breaker trips frequently, it is essential to systematically troubleshoot the circuit to identify the cause. This involves checking wiring connections, inspecting the breaker, testing devices, and looking for ground faults. If the problem persists, consulting a qualified electrician is the safest and most effective course of action. Let's delve into each troubleshooting step in more detail. When checking wiring connections, pay close attention to the points where wires connect to receptacles, switches, and light fixtures. Look for loose screws, corroded wires, or damaged insulation. Tighten any loose connections and replace any damaged wires or connectors. When inspecting the AFCI breaker, look for signs of overheating, such as discoloration or melting. Also, check the breaker's labeling to ensure it is the correct type and amperage rating for the circuit. If the breaker appears damaged or is of the wrong type, replace it immediately. When testing receptacles and lights, use a voltage tester or multimeter to measure the voltage at each point. The voltage should be within the normal range, typically 110 to 120 volts in North America. If the voltage is too high or too low, it can indicate a problem with the wiring or the power supply. When disconnecting devices one by one, start with the devices that are most likely to cause problems, such as appliances with motors or heating elements. Unplug each device and then reset the AFCI breaker to see if it trips again. If the breaker stops tripping after a particular device is unplugged, that device is likely the source of the problem. When checking for ground faults, use a ground fault circuit interrupter tester to check for any leakage current to ground. The tester will typically have a button that simulates a ground fault. When the button is pressed, the tester should trip, indicating that the circuit is properly grounded. If the tester does not trip, it indicates a ground fault problem. When inspecting motion detector floodlights, check the wiring connections, the sensor, and the light fixture itself. Make sure that the sensor is properly adjusted and that the light fixture is securely mounted. Also, check for any signs of water damage, which can cause electrical problems. Now, let's consider some additional factors that can contribute to site tripping. One factor is the presence of electronic devices on the circuit. Some electronic devices, such as computers and televisions, can generate electrical noise that can interfere with the AFCI breaker's operation. If you have several electronic devices on the circuit, try unplugging them one at a time to see if the AFCI breaker stops tripping. Another factor is the age of the wiring. Older wiring can become brittle and cracked over time, which can increase the risk of arc faults. If you have older wiring in your home, it may be necessary to have it replaced to prevent AFCI tripping. Another point to remember is that AFCI breakers are designed to be sensitive to arc faults, so they may trip more easily than standard circuit breakers. This is especially true in older homes with outdated wiring. If you are experiencing nuisance tripping with your AFCI breaker, it may be necessary to consult with a qualified electrician to determine the best course of action. Also note that, in some cases, AFCI tripping can be caused by external factors, such as power surges or lightning strikes. If you suspect that an external factor is causing the problem, it is best to contact your local utility company for assistance. When consulting with an electrician, be sure to provide them with as much information as possible about the problem. This includes the frequency of the tripping, the devices that are connected to the circuit, and any recent electrical work that has been done. The more information you can provide, the easier it will be for the electrician to diagnose the problem and recommend a solution. In addition to the troubleshooting steps and solutions discussed above, there are some other things you can do to prevent AFCI tripping. One is to avoid overloading the circuit. Make sure that you are not using too many high-power devices at the same time. Another is to use surge protectors to protect your electronic devices from power surges. A surge protector will help to prevent damage to your devices and can also help to prevent AFCI tripping. Another is to keep your electrical system well maintained. Have your wiring inspected regularly by a qualified electrician and address any problems promptly. In conclusion, AFCI breakers are an important safety device that can help to prevent electrical fires. If you are experiencing frequent AFCI tripping, it is important to troubleshoot the circuit to identify the cause and take corrective action. By following the steps outlined in this guide, you can help to ensure the safety of your home and family. To further elaborate on the legal and safe solutions, consider these points. Firstly, with a dedicated AFCI breaker, you are isolating the bedroom circuit from potential issues arising from other parts of the house. This reduces the likelihood of shared neutral or ground faults impacting the AFCI's performance. It's akin to having a separate fire alarm for a specific room. Secondly, the temporary replacement of the AFCI breaker with the standard breaker serves as a diagnostic tool, not a permanent fix. If the circuit holds with a standard breaker, it points towards a sensitivity issue with the AFCI itself, or very minute arc faults that the standard breaker doesn't detect. It's like using a less sensitive thermometer to check for high fever. It might not catch a slight temperature increase, but it helps rule out a major problem. Thirdly, consulting an electrician is crucial for complex electrical issues. They possess specialized equipment like oscilloscopes and advanced circuit testers that can pinpoint intermittent faults that are hard to find otherwise. Think of it as consulting a specialist doctor for a rare condition. They have the knowledge and equipment to diagnose and treat problems that a general practitioner might miss. Let's also discuss the different types of arc faults AFCIs are designed to detect. There are two main types: series arc faults and parallel arc faults. Series arc faults occur when there is a break in a single wire, interrupting the flow of current. Parallel arc faults occur when there is a short circuit between two wires. AFCI breakers are designed to detect both types of arc faults. The technology behind AFCI breakers is quite sophisticated. They use a combination of current and voltage sensing to detect the unique signatures of arc faults. These signatures include high-frequency noise and irregular current patterns. When an AFCI breaker detects an arc fault, it quickly trips to interrupt the flow of current and prevent a fire. Furthermore, it is essential to understand the National Electrical Code, or NEC, requirements for AFCI protection. The NEC mandates AFCI protection for most circuits in dwelling units, including bedroom circuits. The specific requirements vary depending on the edition of the NEC and the location. The NEC Section 210.12 provides detailed information on AFCI protection requirements. It is important to consult the latest edition of the NEC and local amendments to ensure compliance with the code. When installing or replacing AFCI breakers, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. AFCI breakers are more complex than standard circuit breakers and require proper installation to function correctly. Improper installation can lead to nuisance tripping or failure to provide arc fault protection. In addition to AFCI breakers, there are other electrical safety devices that can help to protect against electrical hazards. These include ground fault circuit interrupters, surge protectors, and tamper-resistant receptacles. Ground fault circuit interrupters protect against ground faults, which can cause electric shock. Surge protectors protect against power surges, which can damage electronic devices. Tamper-resistant receptacles prevent children from inserting objects into electrical outlets. By using a combination of these safety devices, you can create a safer electrical environment in your home. One more important point to note is that AFCI breakers are not a substitute for proper wiring practices. It is still important to follow all applicable electrical codes and standards when installing or modifying electrical wiring. This includes using the correct wire size, making secure connections, and properly grounding all electrical equipment. Proper wiring practices are essential for preventing electrical hazards regardless of whether AFCI breakers are installed. Also, consider the environment in which the electrical system is operating. For example, damp or humid environments can increase the risk of electrical problems. In such environments, it is important to use moisture-resistant wiring and equipment. It is also important to protect electrical equipment from physical damage. For example, avoid running wires across areas where they could be stepped on or damaged by furniture. If wires must be run in such areas, protect them with conduit or other protective measures. Here are additional recommendations for troubleshooting and preventing AFCI tripping. 1. Ensure proper grounding throughout the electrical system. Inadequate grounding can lead to increased susceptibility to electrical noise and nuisance tripping. 2. Use high-quality electrical components. Inferior components can be more prone to failure and can generate electrical noise that triggers AFCIs. 3. Keep electrical panels clean and free of debris. Dust and dirt can accumulate in electrical panels and cause problems. 4. Avoid using extension cords as a permanent wiring solution. Extension cords are not designed for continuous use and can be a fire hazard. 5. Consider the load in the circuit. If the circuit is consistently overloaded, it can cause the AFCI breaker to trip. 6. Check for loose neutral connections. A loose neutral connection can cause voltage fluctuations and can trigger AFCIs. 7. Ensure that all electrical devices are properly maintained. Faulty devices can generate electrical noise that triggers AFCIs. 8. Be aware of electromagnetic interference. Electromagnetic interference from nearby sources can sometimes trigger AFCIs. 9. Consult with a qualified electrician if you have any concerns about your electrical system. Electricians have the expertise and tools to diagnose and fix complex electrical problems. 10. Keep records of any electrical work that has been done in your home. This can be helpful for troubleshooting problems in the future. By following these recommendations, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of your electrical system. Also remember that electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving. It is important to stay up to date on the latest requirements to ensure compliance and safety. This includes attending training courses, reading industry publications, and consulting with qualified electricians. Finally, electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By taking the necessary precautions and following the recommendations outlined in this guide, you can help to create a safer electrical environment for yourself and your family. And remember, when in doubt, always consult with a qualified electrician.